Villarreal again. I've been up all night testing some stuff, and we're still doing a test here. This is the next version of that test. It's really for my own purposes, but I want to talk more about Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. Still reacting to this. So much was going on with this situation, and when we're seeing more here. In fact, I'm just going to go right to it, and let me know down in the chat, what this looks like, how you like this versus the last one, what you think of the quality there. I think I'm figuring some stuff out, but we're going to get into that. But man, I mean, there's actually almost more action after the fight and more reaction. Let's go to Jake Paul, and you have Jake Paul and his brother, Logan Paul, that were in the hospital here. And I've got this right here. And look at that. Let me make sure this is up. 1 second. Here we go. And look at that. Proud brother of an absolute warrior broke his jaw but couldn't break his spirit. Unbelievable. That Jake Paul, Logan Paul putting that out there. And you got to love that. I mean, you got to, and you have the shirt there, the whole thing. You got to love that. I mean, they're doing it. I love it. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, hold on. Okay, here. So really cool that they're doing this. I've seen some more stuff put out there by Anthony Joshua overnight. We'll go to some of that. And, I'm sure the UK is definitely celebrating this. This was big. As I said, this is big for boxing, no doubt about it. I'm being a little quieter now because it's still early in the morning over here on my side here. I might touch on a little bit, the whole situation. You have Robert Griffin Jr., the third rather, reacting to this. We'll go to this real quick right over here. And I'll probably freeze this because we're showing that. Okay, there we go, Jake. That's the look right there. That's the look of surprise. Like, wait a minute. Robert Griffin III, Anthony Joshua knocked out Jake Paul in the 6th round, broke his jaw with a powerful right hand. There are weight divisions in boxing for a reason. And once you're in the ring, you don't play boxing. That's it, dude. It's kind of like an NFL. You can't go half speed. It doesn't work like that. And I think Jake Paul got a big rude awakening, if you will. This was a serious situation, but at the same time, you've got to give him props. As I said before, my last thing, this was a huge win. The chat is open on Rumble, and I believe YouTube also works. This is a huge win. Okay, for Jake Paul, it's a huge win for boxing, huge win for Anthony Joshua. I didn't realize this, but he's not even in the top 10 right now, as ranked by Ring Magazine, I believe. You have Usyk number 1, and number 2 is Tyson Fury, and then you have a bunch of other people in there, Dubois, Parker. A lot of other people were in that top 10, but Anthony Joshua was not in that top 10. But he dispatched of Jake Paul in absolutely convincing fashion. 8-round fight, took him out in the 6th round, no doubt about it. So that was very serious right there. Now there is. I don't know if I'm going to get into this AmFest thing or not. I don't know. I will say a lot to talk about there. I mean, so much to talk about there. It's not even funny. I may come back to that. Okay. I may come back to that. Let's see here. Anthony Joshua. I mean, he just totally took out in no uncertain fashion Jake Paul. But again, I think that Jake Paul's a big winner here. Broke his jaw in 2 different pieces, on 2 places rather, which is that's a tough deal. Oh my god. Daniel Cormier. You've got Daniel Cormier watching the fight there. I love it. DC. Hold on, let me show you this a little bit. You got DC reacting here. I guess he did a live stream on it. DC right there. My instant reaction is live on YouTube. Oh man, so you've got that DC reacting right there. I mean, a lot of people. That's the thing. This was a big fight. And a lot of people were involved in that. Were speaking about it, rather, and no doubt about it. So that was a big deal. Now on the AmFest thing, let's see. Do I have anything else to say here? I don't have anything else to say here. Wow. Is that right? Hold on a second. I don't know who this is, but there's a report here I didn't follow it. I don't know. I can't verify this in any way. But something about, did Anthony Joshua get $200 million? I mean, that's insane if that's accurate. Is that accurate? That's in wow. As a yeah, I mean, I might be willing to get in the ring with a lot of people for $200 million. I mean, that's a lot. You gotta make sure you get out of there okay. I mean, you're gonna take, I think he looks fine. Anthony Joshua, I think, is absolutely fine. Jake Paul, I mean, if Anthony Joshua got 200 million, how much did Jake Paul get? Unbelievable. So listen, I think, hmm, wow. And look at this, Alex Karp. You gotta say this is interesting here. I don't disagree with this. And hold on a second. This is a little bit of a side note over here. Palantir CEO Alex Karp on America's legitimacy question. No, quote, no one believes the institutions are credible. Why? Business leaders make completely stupid decisions, get bailed out. A year later, they're getting huge bonuses. What did the American people get? Nothing. Look, a lot of people might agree with that. A lot of people might agree with that kind of discussion right there. Now, I'm going to talk about the GOP 2028. We're going to keep this very short. I'm just really testing the video on this and what it looks like and see what I want to do on that. On AmFest, I don't want to say too much. At this point, I'm not prepared to say too much. At some point, I might, maybe even later today or something like that. But I'm just right now, I don't know that I'm willing. Hold on a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's a real Shaq. Okay, hold on a second. I got to go back to this. Hold on. We got a quote from Shaq here. We got a big quote. Shaquille O'Neal, 14.2 million followers here at Shaq. Yeah, Anthony Joshua, hashtag what script. Hey, I mean, and that's why I said this was a great fight. This was a great fight for Joshua, great fight for Paul, great fight for boxing, great fight for Netflix, great fight for content creators. I mean, this definitely, it delivered. It absolutely delivered. You have to say that. You gotta say that. It delivered. Okay, so there's no, in my opinion, it absolutely delivered. And again, that's what I said about the whole WWE things. People buy the pay-per-view to watch the heel lose, and Jake Paul lost that in convincing fashion. But he took his L. He took his defeat. So you gotta respect that. Absolutely respect to him. Now, AmFest, I'm going to say very little about this. I'll start with this, I guess, because a number of people have gone with this, and this is the second time I've seen this, and this is from the Blaze. Okay, and let me set this up. You had Ben Shapiro. I think he was on early, maybe even first. I didn't follow the whole thing. I've just seen barely any clips. And you had Tucker Carlson was there. So someone put down that Tucker Carlson's been at every single AmFest. Erica Kirk had a funny line, I thought. Megyn Kelly had a line here. Now, I'm not going to get into the back and forth right now between Tucker and Ben Shapiro. I've talked to other shows about different things like that. We're going to do boxing. We're going to get down to the 2028 GOP. We're going to wind it down relatively soon. We're at an 8-minute mark. Maybe I go to 20 minutes ish, something like that. And I might, depending on what I see, I might circle back to some of the boxing stuff as well. But congrats to all the boxing fans out there, the Joshua fans out there, no doubt about it. And I think it does kind of set. I'll stay on this for a second. I'll come back to the AmFest thing 1 second. Joshua called out Tyson Fury. They both have slipped a little bit, but that could be interesting now. There's a lot of things that can come out of this. So I think that's it was good business last night. Back to the AmFest here. Again, I don't want to get into this, but I said this before on one of my other live streams, and that is, there's big changes coming. There's big changes. I can't tell you how it's all going to sort out, but we are at a point now. Well, let me say that. Let me put this out here. We're at a point now where clearly change is afoot. Clearly change is upon us. Business as usual is not going to happen anymore in the GOP as we know it, including, dare I say, potentially with President Trump. Let me get, and that that goes to 2028. Now, maybe politically, obviously. And there are people that predicted, hey, there's going to be another war with Iran. Well, we haven't seen that yet. There are people that were predicting that we were going to see something with Venezuela. We're not at war yet. I mean, there's definitely some activity there. And I think people can read the polls, and I think people can see what's going on. And there's nobody that's a better, well, I don't want to, that's a very strong claim, but let me say this. President Trump is very astute. He's very much in touch with the public out there, in my opinion, very astute when it comes to marketing and where public opinion is and stuff like that. And I think he's someone that usually can read the room, if not pretty well. And the room has changed on the Republican side. And let me put this up from Megyn Kelly. And again, I'm not getting involved in this at this point because I'm not prepared to. I haven't watched everyone's full speeches. I've only seen very, very minor clips. I'm not prepared to opine on this now, but it is news, and it's breaking news, and overnight, and we have to talk about it. So here's the Megyn Kelly thing. You have here, there's Jack Posobiec right there. There's Megyn Kelly right there. This is AmFest, okay? And the quote's pretty powerful, right? Megyn Kelly responds to Ben Shapiro, quote, I find it kind of funny that Ben Shapiro thinks he has the power to decide who gets excommunicated from the conservative movement, which shows a willful blindness to his position in it. Now, I said this a long time ago, and this is listen, Ben is way bigger, richer, everything than me, right? But when this started, when the, MAGA civil war, whatever you want to call it, politically, obviously, these discussions started happening. And I think Patrick Bet-David or someone's like, oh, who's bigger, Ben Shapiro or Tucker, or who's more influential? And then they had the discussion. And I early on said that, listen, you can say whatever you want. You can like it. You can not like it. You can cast aspersions. You can call all kinds of names. You can do whatever you want. But there, in no universe currently, is Ben Shapiro anywhere near as influential as Tucker Carlson is on the conservative side with the base voters. It's just not there. And Candace Owens, I don't want to put it up, but Candace Owens said something to that effect of, hey, in my opinion, she was alluding to, I've worked with Ben, I've worked at Daily, whatever. This is my recollection. I don't want to get involved in all of this, but in fact, just go see what she said about it. And, whether you think she's credible or not, however you want to judge that, but that's another source. And so what I said is, and then you saw there was other people talking about, is Ben losing subscribers, all that type. There's different things happening. And we've seen some changes. And what I said is, sure, Ben's successful. Sure, Daily Wire has been successful. Sure, Ben's a name, if not even a household name, on the Republican side. But he's not anywhere near as influential as Tucker Carlson. He's not as influential, as, in my opinion, as Megyn Kelly. Candace Owens is a big name out there. There's a lot of names out there. And in fact, I don't know if Ben was part of this, of AmFest on the program until later. I don't know. I've seen different things. I'm not casting any aspersions or making any claims, right there. Reportedly, again, I don't know the facts. I'm not making any factual claims. So I think that, but of course, Ben has some great supporters out there, no doubt about it, and has a big, a lot of subscribers and a lot of views and all that type of stuff. But I think that's what Megyn Kelly is alluding to right now. Where are you at in the movement? And I definitely believe that we're at a stage where the conversation has to be engaged. It can't be a situation of, oh, this person's in, this person's out. Oh, I'm going to go on this show, but I'm not going on that show. Oh, this person's in the movement, that person. We don't platform this person. And I think we're way past all of that. So I'm not here to rank anyone, or I'm not making any factual claims. I'm not here casting aspersions. All these people are way richer, more influential, uh, uh, bigger platforms, bigger viewership than me, all of them. Okay. What I am saying is, as an expert media person and as definitely a Republican political expert, in my opinion, we're at a point where the conversation has to be engaged. That's where it's at. Okay. It's not about who's in and who's out and any of that. That's not gonna work, players. It's not gonna happen. Okay. So now it's a question of, and there's people coming out for Shapiro, and there's people coming out for Tucker, and then and then there's I think Erica Kirk's quote, and I have it on my other screen here. Quote: "Well, say what you want about AmFest, but it's definitely not boring. Feels like a Thanksgiving dinner where your family's hashing out family business." That's kind of, yeah. Well said. Well said. Well said, Erica Kirk. Got to give her props there. Absolutely, well said. I think that's where we're at. And I think we're at a stage now, like I said, where you have to deal with it. You have to engage in the arguments. You have to engage in the arguments. And it's not about, like, we're not talking this person, or this person said it, so it's not credible. Like that's just, again, I'm repeating myself, but that ship has sailed because there's too many people on that side. And, whether it's what our, war footing is going to be, what our foreign policy is going to be, domestic policy, all that type of stuff. I think, everything, all those things are wrong. Affordability, immigration, all the issues are going to be talked about. And there's a different disagreement here, and there's a divergence. So we'll see. I think that there's always a move to have this top-down type of thing from any, this is any big organization, corporations, governments, this and that. That's always the move. You want to have that asymmetric impact, if you will. And I think it's been that way with political parties, right? And been that in that way in the media. This is the insiders and stuff like that. But now we're at a point where the people can talk to each other, social media, acts, free speech, stuff like that, where it's just not the same as it was. And particularly, I think you've had a populist movement that's caught a hold of the Democratic Party with Mandami and the Republican Party. And so it's, an AstroTurf thing. I mean, listen, tactics, different tactics work at different times, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything. But again, I think we're beyond. I guess that's the better way to put it. We're beyond tactics for the most part, I think. And we're like, is this good or bad? What's our policy in foreign policy? What's our policy with Ukraine? What's our policy with this and that? It's not who supports it, who doesn't support it. Who's getting platform, who's not getting platform. It's like, does this make sense or not? And where are you at on the issues? And as someone said, I can't remember. I know this is somewhat related to Rush Limbaugh and stuff like that, but it was something to the effect of, like, he said something like the media didn't make me, so they can't break me. But there's also corollaries or different, I won't say versions of that, but like offshoots of that, I guess, if you will, which are to the effect of, like, and Rush said that he says what people think, and Howard Stern would also say that too, which is, when you're in touch with the audience, when you understand where your audience is, when you give voice to the audience, then you're going to probably have popularity. When you try to impose on the audience, because I'm a broadcast professional and have been for a long time, now you're on very shaky ground, and that just doesn't work long term. People will tune you out, and stop listening to you. So therefore, having broadcast success or even political success is, and some would say, legitimacy, political legitimacy, and this is de Tocqueville and many others, has to be, representing the people and being in touch with where they want, as opposed to imposing your will on the people. You are empowering the people. You are basically, enacting their wishes or speaking to their views. And I think that's the thing. So now, fast forward, right, to 2028. And we'll wind this down. So we're 20-minute marks. This is probably about where I wanted to be. And I'm being a little quieter because it's early in the morning here on Eastern time. I'm sleeping, but I've been doing tests and stuff like that. So if we look at this on the real clear politics average for 2028, and it's pretty interesting because you've got Vance well ahead here at 49.6. Now you had a new Atlas Intel poll, and you know, I'm not going to get into who's more accurate than others and whatever like that, but I mean, you know, this is definitely a new poll here, in my opinion. You've got Vance leading ahead, then you've got Rubio at 23, DeSantis at 13, and then you have others here. Then you've got some, you know, you've got a different mix here. But if you combine all these, this is the average. Vance, then Trump Jr., then Rubio, then DeSantis, then Kennedy Jr., then Haley. Now, I don't see it. You know, we're a long ways from 2028 politically. A lot of things can happen, right? But I don't see Trump Jr. as a major factor yet. We'll see. Vance, absolutely. I mean, you know, in terms of a percentage, this may be the polling, but in terms of like if I had to predict or something like that, I mean, I'd have Vance over 80% right now, easy, right? At this point, Rubio's right there though. Now, are those two going to team up and be, you know, president VP? Is that the ticket? That would be a strong ticket. A lot of people talked about that, and I talked about that early on. DeSantis is here too, though. DeSantis is here too. But notice, and this is very important, and this is the point I kind of want to make, which goes to Tucker and AmFast and Megyn Kelly's comments and all that type of stuff, in my opinion. And this is a key point. Who represents sort of the older, the Reagan, Bush, and you know, and Bush Jr., right? George W., you know, Bush, you know, who represents that wing of the Republican Party? You know, whether, and you can call it whatever you want to call it, right? Like a Bush foreign policy. How about that? A Bush-ish foreign policy of all these people listed here. Maybe, possibly Rubio, maybe not currently where Marco Rubio's at, but maybe where Marco Rubio was, maybe DeSantis. Nikki Haley, I think, would perhaps fit in there. Not Kennedy. Definitely not Trump Jr. And probably not Vance. I think Vance is potentially more MAGA, more conservative than Trump. I think if you look at his, I mean, he's very loyal. I'm not, you know, casting any aspersions. I think he's very loyal. I think Rubio and Vance, I've said this before. I think those two are doing an excellent job of doing their role in fulfilling President Trump's wishes without imposing their own spin on it. Obviously, they are their own people as well, and all that type of stuff. But I think if you read the tea leaves, you know, this is a conservative MAGA base right here. This is even, you know, potentially even more MAGA, potentially even more conservative than you know, President Trump. And combined, now you've got those. That's like over 60% players. That's where the party's at. You know, when DeSantis goes towards, you know, the old Bush policies, doesn't do as well. When he goes towards MAGA, does better, in my opinion. You could say the same with Rubio. So again, this isn't Rubio that ran against Trump. This is Rubio in Trump's cabinet. So when you think about that and you think about where the party is, I think that's pretty illuminating. That says that's the story. That's part of the story.
That's where the party is. So perhaps what Megyn Kelly's talking about is if this is where your foreign policy is, no disrespect to Ambassador Haley or anything like that. I'm just talking about policy wise, or even here and here, and really more here, because again, DeSantis. I feel like DeSantis is going to go. It has been MAG. He's done a great job in Florida, no doubt about it. And so he's really his own type of deal. You know what I mean? And I think he's shifting more MAGA. So you really can't even count it. I mean, and I'm not trying to stack the numbers, but I'm saying like, but it doesn't matter because even if you. So again, I think politically you can't even count that he's his own thing, and I think he's moving over here. And I think DeSantis, if he keeps going where he's going and position himself right, even if he's not in that top conversation of President VP, and he might be, could be, he positions himself well to be, high level in that cabinet. I think this is going to be very very strong right here. But I think this is the super strength right here. We'll see how it all goes. I mean, but so much is dependent, because if there is this disagreement in the Republican Party and the voters don't show up, I mean, as I said before, it can all fall apart. We can have a blowout in the midterms, and then you can get an AOC, a Mandami-like candidate, Mandami himself running in 2020. I mean, who knows? And that's why it's so important. And that's why we're not at a point where we're not going to platform people. We're gonna kick people out of the conservative movement. Like we're not there, bro. Kennedy Jr.'s here. He was as liberal as super liberal, but did the Maha thing. And now we need a coalition. That's where it's at. And this is about arguments and logic and policies. And it has to. Things have to win on the merits. And what I'm saying is, if you're relying on the old Bush foreign policy, we're down here. It's just not there. The numbers aren't there. Flat out, they're not there. And recent elections and stuff have shown you that's just where it's at, players. So it's time for people to wake up. The party's not where it was 10 years ago. We're in 2025. This is in 2015, and it didn't work in 2015. Trump came down the escalator and totally rewrote the book on Republican politics and on American politics, period. It's over. So what I'm saying as diplomatically as I can is the discussion and who's leading and what policies we're going to enact, and are we getting involved in conflicts, and are we foreign policy, foreign aid, foreign investment, all these things are going to have to be discussed on the merits, and they're going to have to enjoy popular support over any length of time. Because where we're going now is, if we can't come together, the Democrats could win and could blow us out in the midterms. Absolutely. It's very possible. And if you don't like a Tucker Carlson, or you don't like a Megyn Kelly, or you don't like a Candace, or you don't like, I mean, I can go on down the list. A Bannon. I mean, there's so many others now. There's just so many others now. Do you want to deal with AOC? You want to deal with Mandami? I mean, who knows? I mean, where is the energy at in the Democratic Party? They just nominated Vice President Harris and Governor Walz. That was their president VP. Who do you think they're going to put up in 2028? Governor Newsom, AOC. I mean, those are some of the biggest names. So we have to, and as popular as Trump is, I don't think we're at a point where Trump tells everyone just, hey, just get in line and do what I tell you to do. I think that's going to work. It's definitely not going to work in 2028 because, I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. So that's, I think, where we're at. So rather than, who's in, who's out, who's in the cool kids club, potentially cashing aspersions, labeling people, oh, you're this, you're that, whatever it is. How about like, hey, this is the policy we're advocating for, and this is why I think it makes sense or doesn't. Is it popular? Is it not? Are the American people for it or not? That's what it is. How do we grow the tent? Not kick people out. How do we grow the movement? We have to grow the movement. We have to grow the party. I mean, broadcasting is broadcasting. It's like people have to go back to basics. We need to get into basics. So that's where I think it's at. So again, great night for Jake Paul. AmFest, very interesting. 2028 for the Republican side. At this point, it's all about Vance. It's all about Vance. And then you have three other potential viable, significantly viable names there. But I think Ramaswamy, we'll see what happens if he becomes governor in Ohio, does a good job there. We'll see. But I think it's all about Vance, and then we'll see what happens. We're still have a long ways to go. But the main thing is that this party has to stay together, and 2026 is going to be here in very, very rapidly, players, and we're now at a point where a lot of political good capital has been used. Trump's done a lot. The Trump Team 47's done a lot, but goodwill is evaporating. People are feeling the affordability crunch, and we need results. We don't want to be, and that's really, really what and that's kind of a different way of saying what I've already said, which is American people want to see results. They want to see government deliver for them. They don't want to be said that they're bad people or they're racist or whatever label or aspersion you want to, who's in, who's out, who's being platformed, who's not, who's a cool kid. Nobody cares about that. You're going to have to deal with the issues, and you're going to have to figure out how to include people, not exclude people. That is the name of the game for 2026. I absolutely believe it. And you're going to see a massive shift in the media landscape. You're seeing it already. So I think it's that's it. We're going to find out what's what. So that's what I have to say about that. I appreciate your time here. Doing a little more testing. So I figured I might as well do another show and see what we're looking at here. But let me know what you think about it. I look forward to your comments. Thanks so much for watching. My name's John D. Villarreal. I'll talk to you later.